Hi everyone, this is Tiffany, and I'm coming here today to do another edit for you because Whitney and I have decided to break up some of our larger bundles and collections and sell some pieces of them separately, um, because maybe you don't want everything in the bundle. Although personally, I think after you see everything in action and use it, you might be like, wait a second, maybe I should have just done the whole bundle. But whether it's financial or you just don't think you need it or whatever the case may be, we decided to break up some of the things that are our favorites and sell them separately. So rather than just posting pictures, I thought I would do a video. And I know Heirloom is one of our best sellers and it's one of my personal favorites. And we've decided to break apart that Heirloom collection and sell different pieces. So the Heirloom fine art base actions, the brighten subject, the pop, the details, the whole shebang. So rather than just doing that, I decided to put together an edit for you. So this edit is not quite straight out of camera. Let me find my Lightroom. I can show you quickly. This was the import of it. So I raised the exposure a little bit, and then I dehazed it and raised the shadows. This is a true sun flare. It was literally at sunset. So I wanted to brighten it up a little bit, and then it was super green for me. So I just took the greens and played with the saturation and the hues of the green. So that is where it came out of camera. So this again is real. It's not something I added in. And I loved the backlight of her, but that's just the thing. She's backlit, which many of our fall images will be, but I do not have an external light and I don't have any type of reflector on her. So when you get that, what's going to happen is your images are going to be hazy and they are going to be dark. So that is why I chose this image to work with, because a lot of the things that are in our Heirloom collection are going to help with that. So I am going to first go to, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think. I'm going to start with skin and eyes. So I am going to go up to our skin, and I am going to use doll face. I like to use doll face because it smooths and lightens. And I'm just going to run with a white brush, not a black. It is a Monday today, a very Monday. And I am going to just run this. We've decided not to break apart our skin collection because there's so many actions, but they work really well together. So that is one that if you want the skin actions, you're going to have to purchase them together. So if I zoom out and I turn that off and on, it's way too smooth for my liking. So I'm going to drop the opacity. We're at 39% and I still have a lot of work to do. I am going to do my under eye correct, which I don't know. I got to talk to Whitney. I do think we were going to sell this one separately, and this one is great. So I'm just going to hit play and okay, and I'm going to grab, I like to zoom way in because she has freckles, so I don't want to click on a freckle. I want to click on a lighter patch of skin. Just going to click over here. This is even lighter. I'm going to do that one, and I'm going to hit okay and grab, I've got a white brush and I'm at 100% and I'm just going to run that under her eye. So if I turn that off and on, you can see I picked something that was intentionally a little bit lighter. So I am going to drop that just a little bit more. And then because typically, especially in studio, the lighting on the face is going to be different, I personally always run the under eye correct twice. So I'm going to hit continue and hit okay, and I'm going to pick from over here. This is a lighter color. Let's see, it's quite a bit darker. I'm gonna go right here. It's kind of right in between and hit okay. And these are both very, very similar in color. So the lighting was similar, but I'm just going to run that and turn that off and on. And then I'm going to drop this one just a little bit because we all naturally have darker shading under our eyes, so I don't want it to be completely gone. That looks good to me. Now, I am going to do our reduce orange because she's looking very orange to me. So if I zoom out and turn this off and on, you can see that it's affecting the entire image. I am okay with the orange behind her because it's kind of the look I was going for. So I'm going to click on the white and hit Command I to invert that. And at 100%, I am going to run this on her skin, and her arm is very, very orange because of the nature of where she was placed. And I'm going to just run that on her dress. I might change the color of her dress too. So if I turn this off and on, you can see how amazing. And like I said, we are not going to break these up. I'm going to run the reduce magenta and turn that off and on. And you can see if I back this out, turn this off and back on, what that's doing to her skin. I'm going to do the same exact thing because I don't want to take the magenta out. And so the opposite of magenta is green. So what this is going to do is it's going to bring, when it's reducing the magenta, some green into her, and I don't want a lot of green, so I am going to reduce the opacity on this one. Okay. I'm going to, this is not really yellow, but I'm going to hit the spot yellow reduce and see what this does for her arm. I need a brush. I don't know why it's doing this for me. Sorry, I'm going to hit Command Z to get rid of that, and another Command Z because I went twice. Oh, Command Z again. I went off of her arm. So like the magenta and the green, the opposite of yellow is blue. So that's going to bring some blue into here. And I went way over her hand. Okay, so I am going to off and on. So if you just watch her arm, turn this off and then back on, I am going to take this off because it's almost taking on a gray down here. Whoop, I'm going to hit Command I, and I need to grab a black brush and take this off down here a little bit. Turn this off and on. Because of where her arm is and obviously the very, very bright sun flare, I'm okay with it taking on some. I just don't want her to have like a neon yellow arm. So I'm okay with this. These are really great, and we've got some gray, but I'm going to work with some of our other actions and just see if I can fix it that way. So for right now, I can take a shot here and just show you what we've done. So this is just using our skin. If this is where I started and here's where we are. So again, I'm just going to zoom in because we worked just with her skin. So you really see the color changes. You see those bags under her eyes and the smoothing of the skin. So that's a start for me. Again, I'm not even close to being done, but just a little bit of what our skin collection does. So now I am going to go through, I'm going to go into the ultimate workflow. And the ultimate workflow is just that. It's the ultimate, it has a lot of everything. So we have retouching, we have color toning, and then the final touches. So I've already done my skin smoothing, but I have not worked with my cheeks and my lips. So I'm going to play that, and I'm going to start with my cheeks and with a white brush, and I'm going to bring that up to 100%. I really want to bring some color into her cheeks to kind of separate that. I like to feather it out a little bit, and then because she is in shadows, she is shadowed, I'm going to drop that because I don't want it to look like she has bright red cheeks. Now, under studio light, when you put this on, it's barely even noticeable. So honestly, it all depends. And if you don't like this color, you simply double click and you can choose another color. So I'm going to just pick around here and see. And I can move here. I'm actually going to leave it at more of like this pinkish tone. And then I'm going to bring this up. So I just lightened it up a little bit. And then I'm going to go to her lips and just paint on the lips with a white brush. And if I turn that off and on, you can see, and I'm seeing like a lot of gray and green around here that we're going to have to fix. I'm going to go to All Over Glow, and I like to use that on the lip and the nose. And I also many times run it on her eyes, especially when we're really dark like this. So I can turn that off and on, and you can see how that has changed and brightened her face. And then I am going to do eyes. So this can be purchased separately. Our Captivating Eyes can be purchased separately. It's top 3. I don't know if I can pick a favorite action, but it is, I literally use it on every single image. So it's absolutely top 3. I am going to brighten her kicker lights. They're not, I mean, they're obviously natural light here, but I'm going to run that through there. But I am going to drop that. And then I am going to do the eye white and eye bright because we've lost a lot of that because she's in a shadow. And again, I'm not using any external light, and I'm not using a reflector here. It was, you can see literally the last of the sun peeking out. So when I zoom out, to me, this is way too much. If I turn that off and on, it's almost like glowing eyes. So I am going to work with that, but I just want you to see the capability of what this does. So I am just going to bring these both down a little bit. And then I always use this Adjust Eye Color to really pop the irises. So she's got this beautiful honey color, which is crazy because she typically has a very hazel, like blue and green in her eyes. She's got a little bit of everything, actually. So because of the lighting, they're looking almost like honey. I'm just going to leave it, but drop the opacity, and then I always sharpen. And if you've watched any of my edits, you also know that I always add lashes. So if I turn this off and on my computer, giving it a second to catch up here. There we go, off and on. You really see what that does. To me, it's too much, so I am going to bring that down. So whether you do it in the end, whether you do it within, or both, like I just did, it's completely personal preference. And then right away, I'm going to just do a new layer, hit OK, and I have a black brush, and I'm going to go to my brushes, and I already have them selected, but these are in our eyelashes. There's so many. Oh, sorry about that. All right, so I should have turned my phone off beforehand. I am going to put this on there, and I am going to put this, and I didn't even have a chance to look at that. I'm just hoping that wasn't my kid's school calling. All right, I am going to drop the opacity. So sometimes when you have a backlit image, when you put brushes, like eyelashes especially, they really don't blend like they do in studio. So what I do to help them blend is I drop the opacity. I don't want to just hit blur. I'm going to have to undo that. I am going to go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur, and then I drop it to like a 0.2, 0.3. Very low. But it gives them a little bit of a blur to help blend them a little bit better. All right. So I'm just taking a look at this, trying to decide what we want to do, what I want to do next. All right, I'm going to zoom out. Her eyes are still looking a little too bright for me, so I'm just going to drop that a little bit more. Okay, I'm happy with that. So now I'm semi-happy with the skin. I'm going to, before I go back, I'm going to run a couple actions and see what happens. Okay, so for our fine art bases, we have 4, and these are sold separately. So I am just going to click up on here, and I am going to run our first one, which is, we have 2 warm, we have one that just brightens and cleans it up, and then we have a cool. I typically shoot very warm, so I don't use the cool often, but in the winter, I can see myself using it much more. So if I turn this off and on, this is a rough image because it is so shadowed and backlit and already so warm, but I love using these in studio. So that's the first warm. I'm going to play the second one. This one I like because it really brightens things up as well as warms it up. So again, you can see if I turn this off and on, it really brings focus to her and warms her up. I think I'm going to leave this, but I'm also going to do the clean as well. So a lot of times I like to use them in conjunction with one another. So that's just going to brighten my whole image. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to turn these 2 off and run cool just so you can see what cool does. So actually, I kind of like cool on this one because it is such a warm image. I like what it's doing for her skin. If I turn these 2 on and turn cool off, I think I'm actually going to put this over the top of her. So I'm going to click on there and hit Command I to invert it and grab a brush. And then I'm going to paint this on her skin and on her dress. And then I am going to drop the opacity. So that's just taking some of the warmth out of her skin because she was so warm. So another one that we are splitting off that I literally use on every single image, so again, it would be another top 3, top 5, is this brighten subject. And especially for backlit fall images, this thing is a game changer. So I will give it a second to play. And there you go. So if I turn this one off and back on, you can see what that does. It does just that. It brightens your subject. I use it on my studio images. I use it on my outdoor. I use it on everything. It does not have to be backlit. I like what it does to really make that subject pop. And it's more than just brightening the subject. There's a little bit of sharpening. It's just an action that I use on everything. Pop the details is another one that we've decided to sell separately. On this image, there's not a lot there because it is just a plain background, but I can show you if I want to pop that sun flare even more. I can go there. I sometimes use it on a lower opacity like I would dodging. So I'm just going to bring it down to a 6% and I am going to run it. I'm actually going to bring it up a little bit because I'm going to drop the whole thing overall, bring it to a 16, and I'm just going to run it on her dress to bring out the pleats. And I will turn this off and on and you can see what that does. Going to run it to pop the color on the lace here. And again, I think I might change the color of her dress. All right, and I can maybe run it the inside of her hat, outside of the hat. Okay, so if I turn this off and back on, you can see what that is doing. I am going to drop the opacity, and then I think I'm going to, that sun flare is just way too bright. So I'm just going to paint over it and take a little bit of that off, but we still have a little bit of that pop in there. So again, I love to use pop the details I love to use pop details like on my studio images, especially my darker images that have bright backgrounds. Okay. I am going to, I'm a flattener. I don't have to. I could make a stamp visible layer. I'm just going to flatten it because my computer sometimes works a little slower when I don't. And I'm going to hit Command J and I'm going to grab my clone tool and I'm just going to see if I can clean up some of these stray hairs. This is literally at the end of a shoot. She was over it her hair were wild. And I said, can we just, the sun is so beautiful. We actually brought a backdrop outside and shot outside on a backdrop. And I said, can we just do a couple in the sun because the sun was so gorgeous. But her hair are just wild here. So I'm just trying to clean up. I think this is right before we got her a haircut too. These ends are atrocious. So I'm just hitting my option tool, clicking, and then clicking on the hair that I want to get rid of. Here it looks like she has hair coming out of her armpit, which is definitely not. All right, I'm going to hit Command Z and grab a smaller brush and zoom in here. All right, I'm gonna get those with frequency separation because it's changing the shape of her arm. Nope, I'm hitting just Command Z. Just seeing if I can get in here. I'm gonna have to make the brush smaller and I'm going to zoom in. All right. I'm just trying to get some of those stray hairs out of there. Oh. Nope, I'm going to hit Command Z because I don't like the way that that looks. A whole lot of Command Z's. And I'll work, maybe I'll grab my spot healing brush and see what that does. All right. That's gonna work a little bit better to get rid of some of these and not be super noticeable. I'm gonna do the same down here. Okay. So now that I've cleaned up her ends a little bit, this right here, at this point, it's a lot. I'm just going to leave it. But if I turn that off and back on, you can see that it's cleaned it up. Now I'm going to run the painterly hair action. Okay, so I'm going to click on here and grab a white brush, and I'm at 60%. I went to do my arrow brush and accidentally hit the P. Okay, so this is just softening up her hair. Okay, so if I turn this off and back on, I can zoom in so you can see. Turn it off and back on, what that does for her hair. It just really smooths it out and makes it look lovely. I'm going to just try to get this in here. Okay, so that's another one that I really like to use, the painterly hair. All right, another one that I use a lot is the hazy background blur. So I'm going to run that here. Just see if I like it or not. Sometimes I run things and I don't like it and then I just throw it out. That's what's nice about actions. They're one click. Okay, so that has really blurred out our background. If I turn this off and then back on, I like that. And actually right here, this is kind of distracting me a little bit. So I'm going to leave that. And then I'm going to run soft matte, but I always like to take that off of my subject. So I'm at 60%, just to make your subject pop a little more. Okay, so I turn that off and back on. I'm just going to drop it a little bit. And then I'm going to add in, it's hazy because it was a backlit image, so I'm going to just do a basic contrast. Click on it and hit Command I and run this over my subject. And I'm at, again, 60%. Oh, I need a white brush, not a black brush. There we go. Now I can see it. Okay, so if I turn this off and on, it's giving her more definition, but it's also darkening her, so I'm going to have to work on that as well. I'm going to go to brighten a touch, click that and hit Command I, and I'm going to paint that on my subject. I don't really need to brighten this arm all the way up because it already is bright. I'm going to brighten her dress. All right, so if I turn that off and back on, I'm just going to drop this a little bit because I'm also going to increase our shadows on her. Again, click on it, hit Command I, and with a white brush, I'm going to paint it on my subject. And then drop the opacity here as well. So if I take the brighten and the increased shadows and hit Command G and group them, you can see what that is done. All right, so let me turn that off and back on. I am going to do a levels, and I am going to just run this up here and then hit Command I and make a really big brush, and I'm just going to click right on her and bring a little bit more light to her. I don't want to do any type of vignette on this one. And then we're into the winter collection. I love this Winter Wonderland, but it's already so warm. I'm not sure if I'm going to want to keep this one or not. So we will see. Winter Wonderland warms it up and brightens the image. So sometimes I like to invert it and just paint it on my subject. I am going to do that, and I'm not even sure I'm going to keep it. I'm just going to see if I just put this on her skin, what that does on her face. I'm going to turn that off and on. Yeah, I don't know. I like how it's brightening, but I'm going to leave it. I am going to do cool the highlights. So if I turn that off and on, it's just adding some cool tones into my highlights, which I need because she's so warm. I'm just gonna run cool tone once and see what that does. So these are all just a whole slew of actions that'll cool down your entire image. So I am going to leave that, and then I am going to, so another one that I really like is called Holiday Pop. Just right here. So if I turn that off and on, I really like what that does. I'm going to invert it because she is so bright in the background already, and I am going to just click over the top of my subject. Okay, so if I go to my history and take a shot, this is where we started, and here's where we are so far. So again, these are the changes that we have made. Now, I'm still not done. I am going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, and hue and saturation. And I'm just going to play around with my colors. So I'm going to go to green first. and I'm going to move this, which that shows me that there's clearly not a lot of green. So I'm going to ditch this, and it's taking on more yellow. So I'm going to do the same thing and go to hue and saturation, and then I'm going to click on yellows. There, that's why it's not green. See, it's fooling our eyes. It's not green, the whole image is actually yellow. So, I mean, if you watch, her skin's changing, the background's changing. So what that's telling me is the whole image is yellow, and we need to fix that. So I'm just trying to decide what I want to do about that. So I'm not looking at her skin right now. Right now, I'm just looking at the background. So I'm desaturating it a little bit, and I'm taking a look at some of the color. Okay, I'm going to click on this and grab a black brush, and I don't want to take it off of her at 100%, or her skin's going to look too blue. So I'm at 60. Oh, I went too far. And we'll have a green halo around her from... Okay, so I'm just hitting backslash to see where I painted, and then I love the super bright sun flare, so I want that in the background. So I'm just kind of clicking around. I'm going to drop this, and I'm going to turn it off and back on. So we've kind of subdued some of the color there. I'm going to run this on her hair because I like the look of that peeking through. Okay, now I'm going to do layer, new adjustment layer, and color balance. And I'm going to add in some blue and some cyan into the midtones. So I'm only looking at her skin, and I'm going to hit Command I and invert that. And at 60%, I'm going to paint this on her. And I'm okay if I go over a little bit onto the background. That doesn't bother me. It's not going to be super noticeable. And I am going to paint it onto her dress as well. So if I turn this off and on, you can see that it is taking out a lot of the yellows out of her skin. So again, because she was backlit, there was a lot of shadows here on her face. I'm going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, and curves. And I am going to raise. I'm going to hit Command I and invert it and paint this on her again, and the dress. Okay, so now we're getting a little bit to where I want to be. I want her to stand out. I've used the actions, but because she was so dark, I'm just making her a little bit brighter. And then I'm going to go up and do some dodging and burning. Actually, I'm going to I'm going to do some dodging and burning. So I'm going to go to dodge, burn, and glow. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is burn the skin. Now, if I leave it here, obviously that's way too dark, and my shadows already are dark, so I'm going to put this at just a 5%. And I'm going to run through her eyebrows. Just on the places where we already have some shadows, and enhance those shadows. Okay, and then I'm going to go to glow, and I'm at 5% still. I'm doing the same thing, I'm using my bracket key to make my brush larger and smaller and to bring some light onto my subject. Okay. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Oh, that's way too much. I'm going to run this on the dress. Okay. I'm going to drop this one down. I'm going to go to this glow and turn this off and on. It's a little bright too, so I'm going to bring this down. Okay, so if I overall dodge burn and glow, you can see where it's brought light to her face. Okay, another thing, and I've been seeing a lot of this lately, the whole like spin factor on photos. I like it how it softens the edges, brings your eye to the subject, but I've seen some where it's the full on. So we offer those. We're going to offer them separately now. Oh, actually, I just downloaded them. So spin background only, or spin. So if I choose spin heavy and run this, I can show you what it does. It does the whole thing, and you can click on here, and with a black brush, you can, well, I need it at 100%, take it off of your subject, but it kind of just gives that illusion like a lens looking at your subject. Or if I like it but I don't want it to affect my subject, I can hit spin background only heavy. So spin light, medium, and heavy are currently in our glitter collection, and now we've added this. And it's not allowing me to do this. Let me turn it off and hit Command D, and I can just add a new layer. All right, now I should be able to run it. I'm just gonna hit continue and see what happens. Yep, it's not going to do this for me. Sorry, this is a new one, and Whitney even said, make sure you check it out so that it works. So clearly there's something not working here. Let me flatten this out, and I'm going to discard them and see if that makes a difference. If not, then we need to fix that one. It's not actually live yet. Whitney just sent this to me and said, play around with it. Hit OK. So it's looking like it's going to work for me now. So if I had done a stamped visible layer, it would have worked. So it's just working on the background, but I didn't do a really good selection here. So apparently it is working. But I actually liked the look of this one a little more. So I'm going to, this one blurs the edges, the other one does not. So I am going to keep that, and I am going to take it off of my subject and then just drop it down a tad. I'm going to take it totally off of her dress. It's just a little bit of a blur there. Okay. I think I'm going to do one more thing, maybe two. So I like putting on these really dark, like fall images. I like just checking out our bold collection. So I'm going to run bold and bright and just see what that looks like on here. I'm going to click on here, hit Command I, and I like the contrast that that brings into her, so I'm going to do that. Turn it off and on. I'm just going to drop it a little bit more. And then in our bold collection, I like sometimes very smooth skin, so I'm going to use my airbrush skin because I feel like this is a little grainy. I'm going to drop this way down. And then I'm just going to do it at like a 12, but then I'm going to run our frequency separation action, and I'm going to blur that way. Let's see if I have any hairs that I need to take care of with the texture edit. Okay, it's already selected my clone stamp. I'm going to go here and just take care of these few little hairs, even though, oops, they're difficult to see. All right. Then I'm going to go to my blur/color edit and grab a mixer brush. I'm just going to mix around here. She takes a lot of red in her chin. And I'm seeing like some green/gray in here, so I've got to work on that. I zoom out and turn that off and on. Okay, then I'm going to go back into our skin actions, and I am going to zoom in and do the reduce gray skin. This is going to be really strong, but I'll reduce the opacity. So she's like all gray around her mouth here. So if I run that and reduce that opacity, I can show you. If I turn it, it's on, and now it's off. It's on, off. You can see how this takes care of that gray skin. And I am going to drop it just a touch more. Okay, good. There's just one little area in here. Okay. And then I'm going to do the spot red reduce and hit play. And I'm going to just click on here and run that on her chin. And then I'm going to reduce the opacity there as well. But that helps to take that the redness. She always pulls a lot of red on her chin. Okay, so now I think I'm where I want to be. So I'm going to grab another screenshot and show you where we started it. And then here is my finished edit. Now, I don't love the color of her dress, and if we wanted to play with that, I could do that as well. You can do that a couple ways. You can do it with hue and saturation, and you can just watch the dress, although it's not really changing very much. Could just look at dropping the saturation. I'm going to turn that off because I'm in my frequency separation. I am going to go back to my winter collection, and I'm going to just run a couple cooling actions. I'm going to hit Command I and invert that. She's just super yellow looking to me. So I am going to run this on her. So I just did Frosty. There, that kind of brightened her up and took a little bit of the yellow out of her skin. And then I'm going to flatten this down and hit Command J and grab my clone tool. And I'm going to just kind of clicking around, take this out because it's cutting through her head. All right. Okay. Just kind of clicking around here. Give it the same like dappled look. Flattening this and hitting Command J, and I'm going to grab a mixer brush. Just mix that up a little bit. All right. Oh, now I think I'm done. So here's where we started with that backlit image. And here with our actions and some of our background actions, we were able to smooth the background and really make the subject pop. If I wanted to really just focus on her head, like an actual portrait, put her right in the center here. I could crop that. I don't like that. That looks weird. All right, we're gonna leave it like this. Okay, so here's where we are at. I went through and was able to showcase some of our collections, but then also some of the individual actions that we are going to be selling separately. If they're not up on our Etsy store now, they will be soon. So we are working on separating them and just getting images to show before and afters. So as always, if you have questions, reach out. Otherwise, we thank you so much. And if there's anything you want that we don't have, let us know and we will get it for you. Thanks all. Have a great day.